Newest release, it came out yesterday on October 30th, and I listened to it on Audible. It's a very short listen. It was about 3.5 hours. I think the book is about 200 and something pages. I will read you the synopsis. Although Scott Carey doesn't look any different, he's been steadily losing weight. There are a couple of other odd things too. He weighs the same in his clothes and out of them, no matter how heavy they are. Scott doesn't want to be poked and prodded. He mostly just wants someone else to know, and he trusts Dr. Bob Ellis. In the small town of Castle Rock, the setting of many of King's most iconic stories, Scott is engaged in a low-grade but escalating battle with the lesbians next door, whose dog regularly drops his business on Scott's lawn. One of the women is friendly, the other cold as ice. Both are trying to launch a new restaurant, but the people of Castle Rock want no part of a gay married couple, and the place is in trouble. When Scott finally understands the prejudice they face, including his own, he tries to help. Unlikely alliances, the annual foot race, and the mystery of Scott's affliction bring out the best in people who have indulged the worst in themselves and others. The audiobook length is 3 hours and 46 minutes. This was just pure joy. It is not a horror story, so for those who are looking for the classic Stephen King horror stories, that is not what you're going to get here, but there are supernatural elements to it, even though it is a story that kind of leaves you wondering as to the explanations of a few things, and that is something that I feel is very typical to Stephen King, that he will either give you a very specific explanation to something, or he will actually leave us constant readers wondering and start to question a few things and maybe make up our own minds about what is going on. So the audiobook version also has an extra story which is called Laurie, and it's a story about a man who has lost his wife, and then his sister introduces a puppy into his life. This is quite a short story. I think Laurie is about 30 to 45 minutes. I didn't really pay attention to when that started in the audiobook because it was such a short one, but both were really enjoyable stories, and the second one is not as mysterious, but I think it was more of a way for Stephen King to write a story about dogs and his love of dogs, and get that into the mix. The audiobook version that I listened to on Audible is narrated by Stephen King, which is something that made it even more special to me. I love to hear Stephen King read his own writing. It's just amazing. He has this very captivating voice, so that just made me love it even more. This one kind of reminded me of Gwendy's Button Box in kind of length and the kind of storytelling that it was. I read up on a few other reviews of Elevation, and some of them referred to his other, I think it's novella, it's called Thinner, and kind of drew some parallels to those two. I think it's because of the theme around weight, but I haven't read that, so I can't really compare them to each other. Sorry. And I think with Elevation, as most of Stephen King's novels, it's not about the supernatural, it's not about the monsters or the horror or the mysterious elements around it. It's about the people. It's about how people connect, how awful people can be to each other, and how we as people can be the real monsters, which are way, way worse than anything you can ever imagine. This one doesn't go as deeply and as harshly into that, but the prejudice around the married gay couple definitely touches on that. And there's also a bit of a touch on the political elements. It's like Stephen King can't help himself and has to bash just a little bit on Trump in every book, and to be honest, that's something that I quite enjoy. So if that offends your political views, I'm sorry but not sorry. That's just my personal opinion, something that I enjoy. And I like it that he voices his political opinions through his art, because I think that's something that artists are entitled to do if they want to, and I like the way that he does it. The other thing that I will also mention is one thing that I really do enjoy in I guess pretty much every Stephen King book that I read, and it's the tiny Easter eggs and the references to other of his books. It's the thing that he does. They are intertwined in these really interesting ways. And also in this short book, there are some references and Easter eggs that I really enjoy coming across. I would love to reread this at a later time to see if I can spot even more of them. We'll see. That definitely a big bonus for us constant readers. But for me, Elevation was just a really enjoyable, fast read or listen on my part because audiobook, but definitely one that I'm gonna add to the Stephen King collection, and I can't wait to see what he comes up with next. I ended up giving Elevation 4 stars, and it is one that I would highly recommend. So there you have it, that's my review of Elevation by Stephen King. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read it already or if you have any thoughts. And also, could you mention your favorite Stephen King novel if you have one? I would be really interested to see that. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I will see you in my next video soon. Goodbye!